Did you know Jesus defines Holy Spirit? In Mark chapter 13, verse 11, the yellow highlighted text that you see, Jesus teaches sometimes the words people say are not their own words. The words are from or by Holy Spirit. And in Matthew chapter 10, verse 20, Jesus teaches, Holy Spirit is our Father's word speaking from your mouth. Now, I did some editing in the blue and green highlighting, and the word in, and I had to add the word through, because we have 4 examples of our Father's words. The first example, Luke chapter 1, verse 67, tells us when Zacharias declared John's the Baptist's life, these words had to be said by our Creator, for he prophesied John's life. The second example we have is Luke chapter 1, verse 41, when out of Elizabeth's mouth she declared Mary's son is blessed. These 2 verses prove their words were our Creator's words coming from their mouths. The third and fourth example are in Luke chapter 12, verse 12, and Matthew chapter 12, verse 28, where Jesus teaches our Creator's words will be said in their mind, and then they are to say his words. Other examples of our Creator's words coming to their mind are in the Hebrew text, where the prophets are being told to go out, and then our Creator will tell them what to say. Thus, Jesus teaches us there is no Trinity. This will be, I'm just reviewing Psalm 7, or not Psalm, Kings chapter 7. And that's because I wanted to show you the format here. And the format for a 3-verse is the 2 important words to needed that makes the verse. And then connected with the smallest words that I can to connect these together. And then what happens is this becomes a paragraph, and then another like wording makes a paragraph. So what happens here is the first verse becomes a statement, and these 2 connect together like a sentence that define the statement or tell us about the statement. Now there is a 4-verse, and I'll get into that as I go. But the thing here is this is what I'm proving as the first writers wrote the text, and all the stuff that I'm removing is been added in as garbage. Now, because this chapter is 66 verses, I need to chop it down a little bit or get some of the work done so it's not 4.5 hours. There's a lot to go over in this text. And to explain some of the wording to be truthful, and probably to inform you of the truth of these words that I'm revealing. So then, and I usually just babble, and what I'm doing is going to combine all these books together. In YouTube, I have a description that puts many books together in kind of an order right now. This is I think I've got 2 more books to do, and then I'll be putting all these together, and we're going to have a complete story without any interruptions. Now, they did write many different ways as far as to explain what was going on. Kings, from the text I can actually reveal in Kings, is the order of the kings. Either there would have been the kings of Judah or the kings of Israel, but they would be in order, and the things that happened in that order. And then there would have been other scrolls written that would have been a prophet, because they didn't know if he was a prophet until the things become true. But they would be writing the books of the prophet, and that would be the writers from the kings. They would send somebody out and write them. Hear his message when he appears in public. The prophet appears in public and proclaims our Creator is going to do this. And then there are the after writings that are others putting together as this is what happened. So they had multitudes of scrolls to pick from when they were teaching. So a lot of times when they screwed the text up, they actually put these two books together as one in text because they needed specific words. They're playing a word game as how they trick people to understand or not know that they are atheists. They don't believe our creator exists, and they're the ones editing. That's why the text is pretty hard to read. And I am the helper sent by our creator, as Jesus prophesied, and you're going to hear so many truthful things that I will hopefully will take your belief to a trust. All right. Now, or then Solomon assembled. Okay, now what happened up here was that they finished the work on the courtyard, and that means the house was done as well. And that's building the inside of it, and that's what the text was above. But now they're going to go and get the things that are in the tent for meeting and bring them into the house for our creator. Now, when this is what this story is going to be about. So then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the leaders, the fathers' households of the sons of Israel. Now, this word was added in 1977 NSAB, and that is the text that I'm using because I have a real nice concordance here that I can have help when I click on it. I go here, and what I can do is I can click on a word, and it shows you that Strong's didn't see that word there, and so his didn't, or he didn't write that it was a very important word. He thought the words that were written here were those two, and then the missing words were the Hebrew words that were trying to connect the words together, but ands, ofs, and those, doves, ofs, things like that. So
did you
now
know
you
Jesus
understand that I have
defines
a
Holy Spirit?
concordance.
In Mark
And
chapter
that should have been shut off. And like I said, I'm recording this for history. There's probably going to be about 500 videos to go back and listen to why I changed what I did change. When I'm using Israel this way, this means the whole nation Israel, which means it's not divided like this. It's all one. So that's what this means. And this means after the time of David, when it becomes all one again, because they're actually divided like what I showed you before Samuel appears. And then we have Saul, then we have David, and now we have Solomon as king. So then Solomon assembled. He didn't assemble. He summoned. A king summoned. And then that's what I do when I'm changing a word with that hash line, / and changing the word assemble to summoned. Now, this, I feel that it's close enough within the intent of the word because I've changed so many that I say this one I'm not going to really note as a big change. The ones that if I'm getting a little bit, which I consider not in the meaning of what the verse is saying, I'll put that in yellow. Sometimes I'll have to add it completely by making it a gray lettered word. You'll see me do that as well in this video. So then Solomon, and you can see in the other video, or the one I started, I used the word then as a very important word. So I don't need to use it here. Sometimes I have to add it to make it read as smooth as possible to the reader today. Solomon assembled the elders of Israel. Now these are these are really the tribes. So here they're down here. So Solomon assembled the tribes and let's make it first person, our tribes. And this is how I say I'll add the word, and that'll be italic, and then later I will show you how I'm going to put them all up right after I get done. It's still quite a ways away yet to do that, but I want to keep showing all the edits that I do. Okay, Solomon assembled our tribes leaders. Now, what we've had is commanders for the army from David's time, but now we have to have introduced like those over the descendants, because it starts out as like, let's say, the descendants of Naphtali. Now his sons over the years were leaders of different families, and the branches keep going out. And to say that you're going to just grab the oldest one here, no. It's going to be the most distinctive one that has the ruling over some of the families, not all the families of Naphtali. So it has to be leaders. I would use the word leaders, but it's kind of a loose knit word. It's not meaning the top most important, because it's just an understanding of how they lived, that you would not have like one elder over everybody. You would assign different, just like how big the land for Naphtali is, they might have divided it in sections, and then there are leaders from those. Okay. So that's what I'm going to use as leaders here. All the heads, well, that's pretty much saying the same thing, but that would be a repeat. And the summon the elders of Israel. And actually, I would say I'm going to keep that with our tribe's leaders. So elders, now elders would mean like what I was saying of the breaking down, but I don't think there's going to be just one from one tribe. Elders not of Israel, for Israel. Oops, not that. I'm adding, or I'm changing. The elders for Israel with our tribe's leaders. With, and this is all going to be, because they're trying to stick fathers. I've already got the elders covered here, but the descendants, from Israel, the male, so I leave it written like this. This includes women, by the way, when I do this. All right. Now, I kept this verse because I needed all the leaders, or all the elder. Now, this might become a 4-verse, where 4-verse becomes like a comma here and a period here, and then they become like a sentence, and then it repeats itself, so you have a 4-verse format. But as you can see, when I skim down here, I've got a 3-verse. So let me just find out if I'm supposed to make this verse a 3-verse, or is it going to be a 4-verse, and I've got to add a verse to this one. So now this is Solomon. He summed them with the sons of Israel to Solomon and Jerusalem. Now here, what's missing, those that are to bring up the chest, not an ark, a chest that has the 12 commandments in it. If you haven't, you just watch another video and you'll see that I changed the intros, and you'll find the 12 commandments very easily, or go to my website. It's listed down below me, or in the description. So bring up the chest with the commandments from YV, and let's see here. You have to have the Levites. So if it's a 4-verse, then it's actually something would be missing here. All right. Because you have to have the Levites carrying not just this, but everything else. So here it might mean the priest name that we're supposed to. Now, David, I believe, because a lot of people don't know that in the text that's actually missing. Let me see here. I've done a lot of studying over the years of the text, and there's this 300 years. Maybe now my thinking, after what I did this 7 years ago, now I'm thinking that this number might be closer to 225 years. But at some point here, they had abandoned our Creator and went on to other false gods. And then David puts them back together down here. So I'm thinking David then reestablishes the priests, because the priests were corrupt. And we know that from when we read about Eli's 2 sons, how corrupt they were. And actually have text from, I think it's Ezekiel, or maybe it's Isaiah's time, which is really down in this time when it's almost over. Isaiah takes place in this time, and then Jeremiah is here, but Ezekiel's someplace in here. But the thing here is it talks about the destruction of Shiloh, how he abandoned his tent by Shiloh. Shiloh is a city where the priests were to live at night with their families, and then they would also have an inn there for those that are coming in. So it means people were setting up markets, they had restaurants, it was a city, a large established city, but you couldn't have the tent located there. You're burning meats, which makes it an awful smell. But I try to tell everybody it's got to be at least a half a mile away from the city. So we got to have the priest that Solomon's going to get. Maybe he has assigned the priest. Maybe he's taken over from David's way he because Solomon's awfully young, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be David that set up the priests. We don't have that text. I've already done everything for David, and it's just not there. So we don't know who they are. We just know they're supposed to be Levites, descendants from Levi. Because some of them would be because you're going to need a lot of Levites. The 12 priests aren't going to be the ones that are carrying everything. Some of them are getting older because they are to serve between the age of 25 to 50 and then retire. So the thing here is there's only going to be 37 of them, and there's a lot of things to carry. And every item needs 4 people. So I don't know how I can add that here yet, but that's suspicion that the righteous Levites to Solomon's time, or Solomon to there. I think I'll use that, but this I'm saying would be added if I'm going to use these words. Righteous Levites to bring up. See, not just this, it has to include everything. So right now I'm having a problem with, is it a 3 verse? Is it a 4 verse? Is this not in all correct order? I can tell you right now, there is things that are missing here in the text. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to continue this here. I felt wasn't needed. That's just wrong. And David's city is Jerusalem. It was never called Zion. See, what does this mean? This would be almost have to start out with the word then everybody, not all, but everybody. Everybody. Now, this celebration is so huge. It's only mentioned there was another likeness like this at Jehu's time, which is a king towards the very end, when they came to celebrate the Passover and the celebration of 8 days that our Creator told them in the Sinai. So I just forgot I got a camera there. I should be looking at you instead of the text and trying to keep up with everything else. But the thing here is Jehu mentions this time here that this was a great gathering here at Solomon's time of all Israel, like it was in the Sinai, where by birth order they it's called a congregation. This is what it means. It means that they lived or they camped by the order of the birth sons, starting in the south all the way to the youngest in the north. And let's see here. So when you see a map like this, you know these are the 3 oldest. Then these 3. Now this would have been Levi's. Then we have 3 here, and then we have 3 here, and this would have been Joseph. So you can see the youngest would have been Joseph. So oldest would have been Judah, and then Simon, and then Reuben. And now you know how I figured out the correct order of the sons, the sons from Israel. And everybody from Israel, the nation, So I have to put then just to make it read smooth. So then everybody from Israel now this is assembled. How is this the meaning that I want? I want the word congregation, congregated. Assembled. I'm going to say gathered because right now, then, because after they're gathering, they could have been here and then the heads would have gathered closer, had more info for them and would have went back. So here's some summon. This might be the Levites right here, Levi's from Israel. If this is Levi's, Levi's from Israel with our tribe's leaders and with the descendants from Israel. Now that's kind of summing everybody together. Because see, what I'm seeing is here, this what I've just corrected is right here. I'm thinking there's verses wrong here. Summon the Levites from Israel to bring up the chest with the commandments from the Levites from Israel from our tribe's lands. No, this is, I'm really confused here for the simple fact that this is telling me that this should be up here because you've got to assemble the Levites first. Everyone would have been told this. Okay. Now, if I go by that says in my head, how did Solomon plan this? Solomon was to summon the elders from Israel. I go here. Solomon was Solomon had he had to do this first. Had summoned Israel's from Israel with our tribe's leaders and with the descendants from Israel for the righteous Levites. are righteous Levites to Solomon in Jerusalem to bring the chest. But see, this is out of order. That's what's bugging me. This verse is out of order. If I read it without that, if this is a good start, if I have the word had here, summoned, because he's got to put the call out that now I've got the house built and we're going to do this. And I want everybody down here because it's a statute in the book and it is in the law of our Creator. It's a statute, which is very high up on the list. It's above the commandments. So, and to celebrate is another statute. There's a statute for circumcision, and then for the people, it would be to celebrate the Jerusalem around his tent, or wherever his tent was at. And then, well, because they fell apart, maybe they were living around. You know what? I've never had that thought in my head before. I've never tried to, I've always wanted to know why this land is here. And I've always had Shiloh when they first came in here, because I believe they crossed here. The text tells me that Moses was buried along this area here, and he went up to here to overlook Israel. Did Shiloh actually? No, the stories talk. Shiloh has got to be on this trip here. I was just thinking that one of these two lands was okay. I worked it out. I was wrong. Sorry about that. But this is out of order. Okay. Solomon had summoned the elders from Israel with our tribe's leaders and with the descendants from Israel. This would have to be as everyone gathered, as everyone from Israel gathered I guess I'm going to use the word assembled because it does have that order that I'm asking they're trying to get, that when everybody's coming, they know where they're supposed to be about around Jerusalem. Everybody from Israel assembled but it has to be by Jerusalem. That's assembled by Jerusalem. Now you have 1 million people around Jerusalem. And this is not truthful. For the or for the celebration. Oops. For the celebration. So it's not a feast at all. For the passing over celebration. That needs to be there. And what month is that? It's actually the first. But this is also a statute. So the word statute should be there unless you're a Hebrew and you know this. So as everyone from Israel assembled by Jerusalem for the passing over celebration, on our first month, first day, in this first day, which means the first day of the month. On our first day. Now, if this is a 4-verse, what I'm looking for here should have the word statute, our statute as commanded. As he commanded us as a statute. Not a statue. I don't know how to. Just a second. I'm going to see if I can have this spelled out a little bit better here. The commandments are a statute by our Creator. Oops. The commandments are a statute by our Creator. Okay. On our first day, as he commanded us as a statute. Okay. As he commanded us in the Sinai. As he commanded us in the Sinai. Okay, now that's better. That's more truthful. Okay, so I better save some of this. 4-verse. Okay. Now see this. this is one group, and this would be a second group. There's got to be a lot more said here than it's there. For example, each altar had rings on it that they had to carry. They're made out of brass. Then they had a table. They had angels. They had the chest. They had the mercy seat. They had one of the things. There was rocks that they were gathered and used as a testimony, but I don't think they would have. They would have carried the rocks, but not on poles. But those would have had been taken. The lampstand, and then they would have had to carry the pitcher of oil and the bowl of wheat. That was a symbol for our Creator will not. They will not lack food by famine or what is it? No rainfall, drought. So those items had to be carried. They could only be carried by the Levites. Then our now this is a very important item in the chest. So I'm in the holiest meeting room. And this is the agreement between our Creator and the people and those who are going to go to heaven. You truly want to live by honoring and respecting the 12 commandments. Today, people don't know what they're supposed to do. This nation Israel was set up for the rest of the people on this earth after Jesus' time to take in consider all his commands, his statutes, his commands, and his laws and guidances, and how to live to receive his promises. And these are the most important of all the these are what's known as you needed a sin offering. Okay, so there's actually 12 sins only. That's why it's so important here. They define what a sin is, and that's not obeying our Creator. So this is the agreement why we can enter into heaven. So I guess this is very important. So this is okay. I'm thinking that I can get rid of them and keep that. And then I don't need this. Summon the elders from Israel with the tribe's leader and all of this. And then our righteous Levite to bring the chest. Okay. Now, if there's only one space here, and I've been fighting to say that there shouldn't, but that becomes a 4 verse. And those two are supposed to connect together. All this is usually how it takes a little bit to get things started in these chapters. Then all the elders for Israel came, and the priest. No, this. Because what he's going to do is he's going to go to where the tent was put up by David. And I believe that it's going to be on the west side of Jerusalem, where that hill, because it's one hill and then it's another hill because this hill, I believe, is higher than what Jerusalem is built on, because I know that this over here is where the mount with olive trees was there, and just Jesus went back and forth. But you can't have people by a million gather around here. But if you had his tent here, then everybody was to look up to it. You won't want some to look down this way. You would want the tent over here, and then you're going to build Jerusalem over here. And so what they're going to do is, remember, Jerusalem isn't really a large city yet. Okay. The city here that David starts as Jerusalem is where the tent is at. He had a house built next or across the south opening of the gate to the courtyard to his house. His house was on the other side. And then they worked for years to take this hill down, or this long bumpy hill, and made it a flat area to build everything on for his house. And then everything became Jerusalem even more wider. And then the King Solomon moved after the house was built. He had built his house on the south side of the house for our Creator, and that's where the king's house is located. So I'm trying to put this all into my head to say how this text has to be written correctly and to be truthful. Now that I have all Israel camped, that they're going to go here to take the things from here to here, and if I've got leaders here, but I've got elders more important, so if I got leaders here, well, leaders and leaders, get rid of the word all. Then the elders, these were higher up, just what I've said before, leaders. See, it's missing that they're going to the tent. And utensils is usually the knives, the forks, and the plates. So utensils isn't, so it has to be items. When I say items, that means the fire pans that they had, the altars that are coming, the angels are coming, the table is coming, the light lampstand is coming. So that's what this is, items here. It can't be just utilities. And it's got to be an S, doesn't it? So that's a better description of that word. And notice they got it right. Very few times do they got it right, tent for meeting. They call it a sanctuary. Our Creator doesn't use sanctuary. They call it a temple. You people think today a Temple Mount. They're just wrong. They're stupid. It's a tent for meeting. So the elders and leaders, and this has got to be for this Israel. They had to go, they went, got to have Solomon leading them. They didn't came with him. They went with Solomon. To the hill where, well, to the hill to the where Solomon for Israel went with Solomon. To the tent on the hill and adding that. And this would have to be highest priests. Now, they're high priests that are there, but I'm using, and there is usually only one highest priest, but I'm going to say the highest priests were the four elderest priests. So maybe I should do that. The oldest priests. The oldest priest. This has to be carried the chest. Because they're only going to go so far, and they're 50 years old, and I know a lot of strong 50-year-old men. So when you get there, you'll understand that this is not a heavy item, by the way. And they brought the chest for YV. Now they're at the tent, they're at the top of the hill, and the oldest priest carried the chest out. There's 3 words here. Out. Whoops. Out. And then I don't need all the text that I put in here to go. That thinking is probably right, but it's not going to be edited. You have to understand they would have known these things at that time. But like I say, for historians that would write it, they would have had that added in. So this text would have been taken from the time that it was actually done, written in Solomon's time. And that's one thing you have to do when you're learn more and more about the text is when what was written and who would have been able to write it or had it written where it said those words. Now, how come I can't get and brought the chest for YV into the house for meeting with him? So this, we had them come to the tent, but I took the word tent out. Hmm. Yeah, I guess I don't need this, but I do need to the tent and the Levites prepared the items. I got to have it said that way because the reader has to understand that this is what took place, because they have to go to the tent. The Levites prepared the items. Then this can happen. Until then, this can't happen. Then the oldest priest carried the chest out. And they brought the chest. This is not needed. The chest to the house. It has to be to the house because they're already left the tent, right? Oops. To the house. Houses. I have to use it like this. I gotta to the house's meeting room. And I really, there's been a very few occasions that I've had to use three major words in the verse to actually keep the truthful and keep this has to be the meeting room as one word. And they brought the chest to the house's meeting room. Okay, now this has already been said. This is, they place it in the meeting room. Okay. And this congregation is the word that I was saying, how they were assembled, but they aren't all there assembled like that. Or those that were there assembled as a congregation. Um, this has to be the word then here as well. Then all. Then all the items. That now come that which were. If I say what was, and then get rid of this word, what, and this has to be what was in the tent. The Levites brought them into his house. It's got to be that as well. Because this is talking about the altars. They're going to go in the courtyard. And there's a lot of things. There's buckets, shovels. There's, they had cores of wood in there. They had cores of, or they would have had stacks of kindling wood. They had fire pans that they would have fires already going that they just go and grab it and stick it underneath there, or fire for it to go up in flames. Into his house and courtyard. To his courtyard, house and courtyard. Now now we've got it completed. Now everything's there. Like a congregation. King Solomon was with It has to be elders and leaders. So I don't need the word king. The leaders like a congregation, meaning they were all assembled around him as the birth order. It's very important that this is noted to make sure. But this, I added. The congregation. Well, that is not truthful here. Solomon with the elders and leaders like a congregation. Or up here and grab this word again. For Israel, the nation. That you have to understand that word means nation of Israel. Be assembled. I don't really need those words, but I do need the next verse. So if they were carrying them in and this was going on in front of them, this means that they were happy. That's what's missing here. Happiness and joy. The elders and leaders, like a congregation for Israel, to be assembled. Rejoiced with happiness. Rejoiced with happiness. This would have to be as Israel assembled. They rejoiced with happiness. Okay. Very, very important to go through all this stuff and you to understand why I'm changing or adding so much of what I know should be there. This one here, yeah, that's a filler. The rest of them are, I'm pretty sure. So they could have bowed with reverence. They bowed with happiness. You got to understand the story in Sinai, when our Creator's pillar was over his tent. That meant Moses was to come from where he was at and go into the tent to talk to our Creator. But because the event of the cloud there, all the people stood at their doorway of their tent and bowed with reverence, bowed and worshipped, bowed to worship. And if I put him as Israel assembled, they bowed to worship him. As Israel, I don't know, I'm probably going to have to read this and probably add two more when I get it cleaned up. Okay. Because they weren't going to sacrifice things like this. They didn't do this. They weren't mocking our Creator. Now here, the angels. This I'm going to remove because you have to understand the tent for meeting, and it's just being moved there. Once you understand what the tent of meeting was, they had the chest with the 12 commandments inside. They had the two angels looking at each other, and with their hands stretched out, they held the mercy seat, and our Creator appeared before the mercy seat. So these angels' wings aren't touching the walls, they aren't doing anything but covering the ark and his mercy seat. Because their hands are like this, their wings are going to come forward like this, and they're going to touch, or not touch, but probably overlap each other, and then pretty much hide the seat and the chest. As so, the thing here is then there is a table, and I would say it's on the west side because this is going to be on the north side of the house now, not the tent. And the table and lampstand are going to be over there to light the room up. And there's going to be 12 rocks, rocks, large rocks, not stones. Stones are something you can throw. Stones put in David's sling, but a rock was to be picked up and carried as they crossed the Jordan. For each tribe, there's rocks there. A lot of people miss that in history. But this, they had poles, and it's poles from above. See, and they were so big they could be seen outside, and they're there to this day. No. Okay, so this has to be just out. I know that what I've got here is everything's already in there. When the Levites came from the courtyard, put it in yellow, but the word place, we have to understand where they were at. When the Levites came from his courtyard, so I don't have some goofy person saying, well, could have meant the king's courtyard. You know how atheists are. They just don't think correctly. Came from his courtyard, his cloud. It didn't fill the house. I just got done telling you his cloud hovered over his tent for meeting with them. So else, and his cloud hovered. Well, this word is too far off, so I have to say I've added that. His cloud hovered over his house. So now this is a 4-verse. Then Solomon said, now this is a lot of times it's going to change into a 3-verse. So when I just seen them real quickly that they're 3-verse, that is what happens. I found that they're separating the stories of the importances of the stories. And that would be able to be quick referenced when they're looking for things within the text. But then Solomon, I think I'm going to have him shouted because he's going to be talking to our Creator in the cloud and to the people that are around him. So shouted is, then Solomon shouted, we, oops, we have built you. And I think in the subject of our Creator and built is enough to make that as a verse. A house forever. And this word is very important here because this is what defines granite blocks. A forever house, you have to have it made out of granite. Stone houses, and they don't last long. They can last a couple 100 years, but this granite block is forever. Okay, we have built you a house forever. Then the king faced about. Now, you got to understand, the king hasn't built his house yet at this time. Once he's got the house established, then he's going to have them put that in. Then he's going to build his house. And that's the way the order of the text has got to be later. But this area that he's got everybody there is at the entrance of the gate. So this has to be empty. It can't be his courtyard and can't be a Jerusalem all built up. So then the king, so he's facing this way towards the north. And by the way, our heaven is located above the North Star. So when Now you know that when Moses raised his staff to ask our Creator, raised his staff to heaven to ask our Creator for a plague, where our Creator ascended when he got done talking to Abraham or Noah, or where Jesus asked our Creator to feed the many. Then our Creator, or then the King turned and thanked. Blessed, it can only come from our Creator. You cannot bless anybody, so you're using the word wrong. Our Creator is the one who blesses. We have, so turned and thanked. We assembled. I can use the word of Israelis. Say like this. Then the king turned and thanked the assembled Israelis. If I do this, turned, thanked the assembled Israelis and workers, laborers. I'm thinking that's covered already. Then the king turned and thanked the assembled Israelis and laborers, and the Israel's laborers. And this would have to be this. Israelis and I'm going to say the leaders, because they are the ones who sent their people to help work. So, and this is, I'm going to say I'm adding that. And the leaders standing by him. Okay, then the king turned and thanked the assembled Israelis, laborers, and the leaders standing by him. But if I went from a 3-verse to a 4-verse, what happened here? Then the king turned and thanked the assembled Israel's tribes. And that covers all this. Then shouted, "We have built you a house forever." Then the Kern thanked the assembled Israelis. Israel's tribes. And I think maybe that's where that comes in. I failed English, so I don't know. I'm guessing here. Israel's tribes. He then shouted, "Ye are blessed by YHVH, our Creator." Who spake. This doesn't need to be here. Spake to our forefathers to our forefathers. See, this is since the day I brought them up. So this has to be not to David, but this is 3-verse, so that's good. I was trying to make it a 4-verse. Okay, then the king turned and thanked the assembled Israel's. If I do this, if I go back here, all the assembled tribes. And that's better. Then he shouted, "We are blessed by YV, our Creator, who spake to our forefathers." Since the day I brought my people Israel from the land, I did not choose a city. This is something he would not have said. This is like our Creator having to speak. You can't have him speaking because we know what this is about. He's reminding them about the time that when they're saying YV, our Creator, they're saying created Israel. Okay, they created Israel, the nation, created his nation, and that he done by spoke to our forefathers about the 12 commandments. Okay, and here, no, this is not going to be said. This is now. This is to our forefathers. This is already known. We have this. If you know the stories that are already there, when David got the word from Nathan that his son's going to be have a kingdom in heaven forever, David's wondering who he is, and then he's kind of like, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to build you a house." Then, so then Nathan comes and tells him he can't build a house because your son that's going to be born to you is, and he chose Solomon, is going to be a male of peace, where all his sons and David were warriors and had killed people. So this, you have to understand, has already been said, so it's not really needed. See this, but it's not in his name. Will build my house, and what he has filled. I don't think I need this. This is already, like I just told you, that's already known. In fact, David's going to assemble them together and remind them all this and tell them to work with Solomon. This, now he's going to turn from the people and he's going to turn towards heaven. Now this, there is no creator, our creator like you. This would be like Solomon saying that I know there's another creator out there, but you're the different one. So this one, these words would never have been said. Or on earth beneath. You got to remember, the people that were editing the Bible then thought the stars were gods, by the way. That's why it's called the hosts of heaven. This has just got to be one word, not two words. Now, Solomon would know that after David's time, David knows that now that they've got the place in heaven, they become Jesus's people or Yah's people. This would have to be his servants in heaven, which would mean this and this means Jesus. Then he spake to YHVH. This is live. You just don't walk. You live what you're supposed to. You can't walk this path. You have to live the path. Live what our Creator told you with all their heart. This is not kindness. This has to be blessing. Blessing his servants with going to heaven. Blessing his servants. So this has to be separated for a 3 verse. They spake to YHVH. And this would be Israel like this. This is how I use it to note that when you do word searches and you see it like this is from the Sinai up until the time of Eli. He spake to YHVH, our creator of Israel. Who keeps. Who will keep. Who will keep his. No, he's talking to him, so. You are keeper. You are keeper of promises. Blessing his servants. Blessing his servants. Yeah, that's the way I want it read. I want to make sure that people understand that all the things that our Creator has done by keeping his promise from the time he told Abraham he's going to make them a nation, and actually before, because he talks to about Shem's being blessed, which has Noah gave his blessing that he received from our Creator to Shem, his son. Okay, you are keeper of promises, blessing his servants who live before you with all their heart. Okay. This don't need. This is related to it, doesn't need it. This, no. This, I don't think is needed. Now, this here, that is a promise that David's been made, but why would he say that in front of them? He's boasting of himself, and Solomon wouldn't do that. But if he is to say this, because this is too good, three verse, it would mean that as long as the king is blessed by our Creator's promises, but I don't need to start it off like this, who walk with all their heart. To you, I want it to be like that. To you, this you would not say to our Creator. To your servant David, my father, you have promised him same. From yours you will not lack. I don't really like the word lack, so let me see what's going on here in 25 here. From yours you will not cease. I like the word cease, only it's only used once here, but I like that. So I'm going to use that word. Cease. From yours you will not cease. A son to sit. As ruler. Gotta go get that word Israel again. If only your sons live before me as you have lived. I don't need this word. If only your sons live before me as you have lived. And if I add these here before me, if only, let me see here. In the NSAB, it's got only. This is like not or only is used quite a few times. if is actually used once here. Oh, wait a second. 59, yeah, 500 times. Okay, if only your sons. I don't think I need the word only. That's what's confusing me here. If your sons live before me, if your sons live before me as you have lived before me. Okay. Now this he doesn't know because he's only the second son, so that wouldn't be said. This is just wrong. Our creator is everything. Excuse me, people, but our creator is everything. A supplication I use as a petition, meaning a petition means to ask our creator for something. So right now he's going to be asking for something. So have a regard to a prayer of your from your servant, and he knows he's talking about himself as being the servant. Your servant. Wait a second, okay. Yet have regard. Let's see what I got here. I need 28, so let's get this here. Yet have regard. Okay, now these are when you have two words the same together. I like trying to use one word said twice, such as if it says very rich, I would say the rich richer. Okay, so hmm. Oh, facing, faced, looked, prepared. These aren't helping me much. Usually it does come to me pretty easy, but to have a regard. No, so this you would be asking, so I don't think that would be right. Regard the words. Regard the words of your servant's petition. Let's see what the secular world thinks about the word regard, favor, honor. Okay, let me go over here for a second. The regard. It depends on what's being said. Now, this I don't think is there, but I'm looking down here. I don't see this. Because he knows of the sin offering, but he's looking at asking like a forgiveness. So it's regard. Favor the words of your. I'm going to put favor. Your servant's petition. As you listen to their cry. Listen to their woes. Yeah, I'm going to add that word. He wants favor the words of your servant's petition as you listen to their woes. Now, this is not him. This is, he's asking for those that I was reading about below here. And this is not needed. Favor the words of your servant's petition as you listen to their woes. Your servants ask you before you, like today. Is he asking for those in the future? Um, Listen to prayer is to talk. So if I put that here, listen to their prayer from servants who will pray. Pray is the acting of the way you're going to uh, talk to our Creator. He's asking them about the house here. So I'm thinking towards your house because that's where you're to place your sin offering. Listen to their prayer. Listen to the prayers from your servants who will pray towards your house. Okay. Night and day. Okay, well, they finally got this right. That it's night and daylight. But it's nice try. But they at least got the word night first. Night and daylight toward this place. I don't think that's your name will not be there. They know that you're there appearing as light above the mercy seat. So this I don't think is here. If these are petitions, then the next would be to talk to our Creator. So what I'm having a problem with is making any of that work, in other words. Okay. And to listen. Listen to their prayers. Okay. They're going to be the petitions, the request of their woes. And then here they're going to talk to our Creator to learn about our Creator. Now, this, you can't sin against your neighbor. A sin is against your Creator. So this has got to be out. You can't do it before nobody's allowed in the courtyard. Mm. Look at that, I'm not seeing that even correcting it. That's out. Here I already have the word listen, so this is out. This is already said here. He will listen to their woes and listen to their prayer, that you will hear them in heaven. Hear and forgive them. That isn't, that might go for now, but for at that time, I don't think I need this. Just not making sense. After you hear them and after they pray to you, this has already been said. From heaven, act and judge your servants. This would have to be his servants. What am I talking about? Well, he's talking to our Creator. So we're our Creator's servants before we're Jesus' servants, by the way, in case you're wondering. And I would need that to be and judge for your servants. That makes it a little bit better. So this has to be from heaven. Heaven. You will and judge for your servants. I don't like the word act, but I got to get moving. This is going to be a 10-hour video if I don't. But this, oh, just don't see enough there I know the intent. That's kind of being obedient to our Creator is only the righteous ones who are actually most obedient to our Creator can use the word they are righteous. And then they would probably be humble and not say that about themselves. When okay, act for judge. Now this is like your people Israel. This is going to be his reference would be like. Like when your people are defeated by their enemy, because this is going to be covering as they cast out, or they have sinned against you. If they return to you and I don't need this. And they return to you and confess by their praying by their praying if they return to you and confess by praying and make their petitions to you Well, if they're if talking, we don't need to say where they're going. That's one thing. Get rid of that. Forgive, because they can't make an offering at his house. This is the key here in my thinking. Their sins, and bring them back to the land this would be the promised land, would be a camp and land you gave them, because they're in a foreign land. Okay. All right. No, that you don't pray for rain. He wouldn't ask. I'm saying Solomon wouldn't ask. You might, but Solomon wouldn't be asked them. No. This is still talking about rain, so that isn't. But if they're returning, I'm not seeing this. See, you got to understand, if they're against our creator, then all these things would be happening: famine, drought, lack of water, blight, these plagues are to happen to them for not obeying it. But you can't have someone all of a sudden say pray and make and ask by any man, knowing the affliction of his own heart, spread out his hands toward this house and you forgive him. That can't be true. This Solomon, if I know these, Solomon will know that you're supposed to be obedient, and these are your blessings. So now this is going to be rough, because I got to go all the way back here where it starts the 3 verse right here. If I say that I've done them right, this needs to be spaced because those two group together. Nope. See, there's a group that's going to be missing here, but because this is a promise, this is a ruler. This by them being good, and then their servants being good, you will listen to them and judge them further. And then if it's like defeated your people and sinned, return them. So that would be a group. Then return them to their land. For them to fear you all the days they live in their land. Not may fear you, that they will fear you. They are to fear you. They are to fear you all their days they live in their land. Now that's the end of that one. Now comes the division. Now we have these guys. Concerning the foreigners, that would be us. Those, but really, this is Solomon's time, so. Concerning the foreigners who are not Israelis. Concerning the foreigners who are not Israeli, and praise, that means to talk to our Creator, by the way, and praise to you in your house. Praise to you in your house. and judge accordingly, not do, judge accordingly. Foreigner calls to you, hear them in heaven. Judge accordingly to the foreigners callings. Gotta leave that S in there, but it's gotta be callings to you. Okay. In order, people of the earth, these are races on earth. In order that every in order that every race on earth in order that every race on earth knows your name, and they hear you, and this has got to be the two subjects. They and you, or fear and you, as two I'm going to put his, whoops. I think this is now that they should know about Jesus here. It's his people to enter into heaven. Because this is what they're calling to our Creator for, is to enter into heaven. Not only to know him, but to enter into heaven and do his people put you by your name. Now that is a second group. This has already been said, that if they've lost in battle, taken land far off or near, that's already been said. They've been taken captive, that's been said. This has all been said. Been said. You don't need to do this. They'll recognize a blessing. Now, notice when you see this is kind of unique here. And that is that they found this in another text, they added it, and they put the number before it. If we search the 1611 King James and we find these words in there, that means the quote marks are actually text they found at that time. So that would be some special meaning for understanding this, understanding what they're saying they found right here in this location. But anyways, all this has already been said. Okay, now this is what's going to be important, what's after he's been said. This hasn't been done. This is the promise that he's given Solomon all his days. And Solomon built the house right off the bat. So this is out. See, day and night, they got that wrong here now. So, don't need this said. When Solomon had finished praying and petitioning, is this a word? Yep. Solomon had finished praying and petitioning YHVH. This says he was kneeling, but before we have him, what was he doing? He was just standing and talking. He had stood and spread his hands towards heaven. Okay. So that's the way he would have been when he's saying all these things. This was not there. This was not there. He was standing. So this would get rid of that. $57. This might be the word Lord. I've got to look at that up. Yeah, our Lord YV. Forefathers. Okay. Let me finish praying and petitioning YV. Did he command us? Well, let me see 57 here. Yeah, it was the Lord. See what they did here? This was Elohim's. So I got this wrong here. Okay. Let me put that in here correctly then. Must be then, whoops, what's happening here? So it happens to hit the shift key and not the other key. Then he commanded then he shouted, I guess, for everybody to hear. Then he shouted to all the assembled for Israel. Oh, come on, get me this word. I should have pulled it up and made. Come on. There we go. Always when you're in a hurry, this stuff happens. I forgot to bring my cheat sheet out. That would have been quicker this time. Then he shouted to all the assembled for Israel with a loud voice. With a loud voice. Our Creator will be with us like our forefathers. And or has to be, well, why the our Creator will be with us like our forefathers. And not leave from us. Now, that goes to the point that I was saying way back, that he left seeing the priest when he was at Shiloh, okay? Or when the tent was by Shiloh. Okay. Now he will be like with the forefathers. And then what I actually have is proof that from this time then all the way to all the other kings up to somewhere right in here, because this guy, he made an image of the goddess that he was meditating to have sex with into the house. That means the priests were corrupt. Priests were corrupt. But up until this time, so from all these years, let's say 20, 40, 80, 200, almost 300 years, our Creator was appearing before them as a light in his house. Just to let you in on that small secret. So that is cool that he's now not going to leave us. He's established his house, and we better be paying attention here. And that's because they got together as the nation Israel and come there together. And that's what David did, was brought them back together by showing them to be obedient to our Creator. He, as a king, he blessed the whole nation. That he may incline our hearts to himself. No, it's it's the big thing everybody wants to know. Boy, is that, where did I leave off? I corrected this. Sorry about that. Then I added will here and forefathers here, and not leave from us. Got rid of this. So it wasn't that far back that I did all that editing. But to catch you up, I just realized when I looked over. That's why I look over. I do make errors from sometimes like that. Forget to hit that button when I come back. So not leave us. But it is us who have to make the choice. We're living a life that we are making the choices whether we want to obey our Creator or not. So that he may incline our hearts, no. That's wrong. If I put by our hearts, we are to live by our hearts, we are to live by this is, I'm going to say by all his commands. Well, I guess I don't need that. This, I'm looking at what this is. I can't make that 2-3 verse groups. So by our hearts we are to live and keep his commandments and statutes and laws. So this is out. By our hearts we are to live and keep his commandments and his statutes and laws. Oh, how am I? If I go back and I use this, commands, and that would then be including these here. It's commands. He commanded our forefathers. Well, that's a 2 group. That gets this. Now, as each day requires. I don't see any of that being true. Now that I see, but I don't see this. Commanded our fathers. So, all places. I don't even know how to pronounce that word. No, I guess I haven't. I pretty much do my own studying. I have a question from Twitch here. Have you ever heard Kayla Siri? No, I haven't. Equals. But I've been doing this for an hour, and I guess I'll quickly search what that is. I don't think that's what's supposed to be coming up. I guess so. Let me go on YouTube and search his name. Think so. All that's coming up is a sports team. No, what I'm doing is I'm trying to tell you that. Let me show you. Come on, E drive. Hey. Did you know that, example, there's 12 commandments, and people just haven't studied the Bible to know that. In the 1611 preface, this guy here is the divine, and your reward for studying the Bible is just to have a fellowship with saints and participation of a heavenly nature, and you're supposed to have a fruition that shall never fade away. I bet that's why most people don't study the Bible, because they don't want any of that. But if those that study it really want to go to heaven, they got to understand that those that are editing the text are not those who believe our Creator exists. And what you're seeing is the first writer's formats. And this is what they'll look like when they're done. This is a small paragraph, and this is a small paragraph that joins that to become one. And then they're going to be separated by 2 spaces, and then it's going to happen again, and it's going to repeat and repeat. What I'm doing is just digging out from the mud right now what's going on. What if you're a Muslim? Okay, if you're a Muslim, there is no word in the Quran that tells you why you're going to heaven. You have to definitely come back to the Bible and understand the names in the Bible. Would be that Abraham was given a promise, and then David was given a promise through his son will have a kingdom in heaven, and those that obey our Creator will go into his kingdom in heaven. And that is the only reason why we can go to heaven. It's only in the Bible. So the Quran really is a distortion of words, trying to take the words that are names in the Bible and claim something new, and that's not true. There's many reasons, many arguments, and more Muslims that get educated will understand that they've been deceived, just like everyone who's read the Bible has been deceived as well. So have to watch what's going on. Still should to buy. I can see that, or I can tell by what you're writing, your English isn't your first language, and I'm happy to see that you're trying. That's great. I like that, because I get to communicate with people more this way. Still should to buy, and the thing there is I'm thinking what you're trying to say there is what you should be turning to which book, the Quran or the Bible, and I'll tell you neither. You're going to go into, well, let me see here for a second if I can pull it up. Okay, this is my list. I'm going to put a link in here, and you can download this PDF and read that, and you're going to find how accurate the text is from the beginning to the end. And in Jesus's, it actually has the last 7 days of Jesus. That's what happens under our Creator's hidden formats, under the Greek text. But here I'm proving the first writer's words that they started with in the Hebrew side. So that I haven't got all together yet, but I'm working on it. I can give you those two links too to show you where I'm at. And then I've got to, and truly you should just be reading the first one that I post there, and you'll get a real good education of what, taking out all the crap. And every word that you read means the same word as you read through it. So all the races on Earth know YV is our Creator. That's it. Okay. This he's already just said. They've got this one. Okay, I appreciate that. It's actually the first one. It takes about, I'm a slow reader, so it takes about 6 hours, but it could be read in 2 days. And actually, if you just zip down to words, and I've got everything titled and labeled, so halfway through is called Jesus's Teaching. If you just start there and read about Jesus, you'll understand a lot more, because even Jesus teaches what is Holy Spirit. That would be in my YouTube side. That's where I'm getting all these. Let's see if I do this. When people talk about a Trinity, there's no such thing as a Trinity. Jesus defines what is Holy Spirit in this video. I go over every word in the 4 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and specifically point out to 2 verses that Jesus tells us what Holy Spirit is, and gives 2 examples, and then gives 2 more verses from Jesus and more examples. But the strongest are the first 4, that it's the Holy Spirit is actually our Creator's words coming out your mouth or into your head. So now let's put his name in here, Solomon. Now Solomon. And everyone. Now this is not reading truthfully. The thing here I've got a hard time is there is a large altar. There's 12, one for each tribe, but one for the king to make an offering. Usually he's making a peace offering or a sin offering for the whole nation. Now, this offering is different than a sacrifice. A sacrifice is the animal that they kill outside the courtyard fence to atone for their sin. They'll take a goat or a ram and they'll skin it and remove the muscles. The muscles are the action of your sin that they're going to burn on their altar. And then when the person or the head of the household that making the atonement sees this smoke disappearing, that's a showing of our Creator's going to forgive your sin. And then the priest goes in and asks, is now he really truly forgiven? And because our Creator knows his heart, he'll say, no, cast him out, him and his whole family, or yes, he's forgiven and he can remain in the land. So this is being written wrong. They sacrificed to make an offering. So this is just going to be changed, but and this has to be like this. Whoops, this is added. To make an offering before YV. Now Solomon sacrificed to offer for before, but it's got to be a peace offering. Yeah, here it is. Saul ordered a peace offering. So, oh, well, I don't need any of this. Okay, Solomon offered this has got to be a peace offering for them. I'd like to say all, but that's not fitting the format. I guess I can get that everyone back in here. Now, for everyone, oops, he had them sacrifice to offer before YV. And Solomon offered a peace offering for them at the at the house for YV. Okay, now that the Solomon offered a peace offering for them at the house for YV. So, and it can't be at the house, it's going to be at the gate. I don't know where the king actually is supposed to make his offering, but the gate does make a very good statement here. I don't think I really thought about that before, because his priest has got, the highest priest is going to do this for him, by the way. So, and Solomon offered a peace offering for them at the gate for YV. Now, this was on the large altar here. Well, this is true. There's no such thing as grain offering, burnt offering. That's what happens to the offering. This isn't right. This is not right. Now, somewhere there has to be text here that says that YV accepted the offering. So the peace offering on the large altar. If our Creator accepted, fire came. Is fire consumed it? Meaning from heaven, that fire came down and consumed it. And then that way the people all witnessed our Creator, just like they witnessed him with the forefathers. Because the peace offering has to be lit on fire, because they got to put wood on, they got to take the offering. They got to remove the hide. They have, in the peace offering, I believe, is a 1-year-old ram, which is called a lamb. And then when they get older than that, they're a regular ram. But when they're young, they call them a lamb. That 1-year-old lamb is the peace offering. And maybe they offer after they. Maybe they just remove the skin, the innards, and then burn it all up as one. Because a 1-year-old lamb is not that big, I think. But they would still have to cut it up. I don't know. There's nothing about how what they use as the peace offering. All I know is it is one. So this is supposed to be capital letters here to honor and respect the offering. Okay, this is not truthful. The feast is the celebration. the celebration. And this is something that was a statute by our Creator. With Solomon, they observed the celebration at that time. And it's a congregation here. It's not an assembly. This is a congregation. I know I've spelt that wrong. But I know it's up here someplace. So let me go look for it. Right there. Yeah, that is good. Come on. That's what I did. I pasted it. Okay, let's not paste the word. Let's just grab the word. Now you know what the congregation is about. Okay. So with Solomon, they observed the celebration at that time as a great congregation. Before YV, our Creator, this is actually 8 days. 8 days. The first day of the year is the Passover. It's in the Sinai that he told them to celebrate for the next 7. This is wrong. So before our Creator, they celebrated his statute. Whoops. That's his. For 8 days. Before our Creator. Before our Creator, they celebrated his statute for 8 days. And this doesn't need to be known because after that, they get to go home. Everybody knows that. Now, I get to do a cleanup and actually see what this all looks like. And I forget to keep saying that at the beginning of the videos. Just scroll to the end and you'll see it all cleaned up. But this is That's too far. 8 right here. 66 verses. That took, what, 3 hours and 17 minutes so far. So let me get back to this and say, you know, okay, Solomon summoned the elders of Israel with the tribes, leaders, and with the descendants from Israel. Then our righteous Levites to Solomon, and that doesn't read right. I got to fix that. To bring the chest with the commandments from YV. And then this has to be 2 spaces. This is 1. As everyone from Israel assembled by Jerusalem for the passing over celebration on our first day. Huh. As he, well, this, I don't need that anymore. I guess I didn't know I had already 4 verse. Then it was this here needs a double space. Then this needs a double space. Then this here has 4 verse missing. No. Actually, they bowed to worship, and just like in the Sinai and their forefathers, then this happened. Then the story continues. This should be 2. This should be 1. That should be together. So this be together. This should be 1. This should be 2. Should be 2. 1. 2. Boy, it come out pretty good. I'm just reading quickly, but this looks like, and what's neat is the story comes out truthful here. So that's what's also amazing. I don't know if this is 2. This is 1. Concerning the foreigners, okay, that needed a double space there to start that. And then this. And then this. Yep, all their crap that they hid for 2,500 years or whatever, out the window, and now we have the true story of what had happened in their format. Man, that's just beautiful. That is what's supposed to happen. And that is one long story of what happened that day. Oh, I loved doing this. Yep. pulling back history to reveal the true truths of Jesus and what happened to his nation. All right, that's going to be it for this video. I know it was really extremely long. I try to get these 2.5 hours, but you've seen it, and this is recorded for history, so you know what I did and why I did what I did. And then when I put these all together, I'm going to make one great big long book, and you're going to have a complete story in the first writer's words, or as close as I can get to them.